y'all, I got 10 minutes to go over all 12 of the performance evaluation categories. So here's your 10. Thank you, 10. Go. Hey guys, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the study guide that we did in class today, whether you did it remotely at home or whether you did it in the class with us. We had some really good answers that I wanted to point out to you guys, just in case you forgot to write them down in your notes, or if it's something that you're still a little sketchy on. Here are some good things to keep in mind for a lot of these categories. All right, category number 1, approach. I got a lot of great feedback as far as it being your very first impression that you're creating for the evaluator. Absolutely, you want to create a very good first impression. It's the first time they're seeing you. When you think approach, think of the letter A, first letter of the alphabet. It's the first thing they see of you. Somebody else mentioned something about you know, figuring out what it is that you're going to do. At that point, it's too late to figure it out. You have to really already know what you're doing. You walk in, it's super confident, there's no second guessing, you are well prepared, first impression, and it's basically, you know, showing true evidence that you have actually prepared and rehearsed ahead of time. Okay, next is the setup. So exactly what the term refers to, set up, think of in terms of a chair, props, anything physical that you need to actually get your scene off the ground. That's part of the setup. It should be done quickly, quietly, straight to the point. It shouldn't be an elaborate, you know, production just trying to get your scene set wherever you're doing it, whether it's on stage or in class. It's quick, quiet, and you always, always wait for your audience's attention before you begin the scene. Introduction. Introduction should be these key pieces of information. Obviously, introduce yourself. You need to tell me what the name of the piece is, what character you're auditioning for or performing as, whether it's an audition or scene work. You got to tell me who the character is you're portraying. And then, of course, the author. You want to give credit to where credit is due. So the example I always use in class is, hello, my name is Mrs. Bryant. I will be playing the role of Blanche in A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams, okay? And obviously rehearse it so that way you don't do the like I just did. Energy. Okay, so some of your comments were really good. Consistent energy, whether it be sad, happy, anger, any other emotion. It doesn't mean that you have to be loud and over-exaggerating with your movements, okay? Energy just means that intense feeling, emotion. You're doing it with all of your might, okay? It doesn't have to be over-the-top movements, gestures, facial expressions. Okay, we do understand it is theater, so you do have to be a little bit bigger with your movements, but it shouldn't be just all physical, okay? If you make it all physical, that seems to be like a very shallow and very, you know, very one-dimension type of character. You want multiple dimensions. You want physicality. You want your voice to be energetic, and you also want your emotion to be energetic as well, all right? So those 3 key terms. All right, as far as your voice is concerned, obviously projection is super duper important because you can have the prettiest voice and we won't hear you if you don't obviously project. Other things to remember are articulation, making sure that you have that unique vocal quality, whether you have to change your voice to perform with an accent or perform with a dialect. You want to make sure that you are coming through with confidence. We want to make sure that you want to be heard, okay? So it's not just about, you know, speaking the lines correctly. You know, you can speak them correctly all you want, but if you don't say them with that gusto and, you know, that desire to be heard, that's obviously going to fall flat and not be very confident. Movement. A lot of times movement can be separated into many different categories. So we mentioned blocking, which is your movement on stage. We also mentioned using props. If you can't have physical props in front of you and you have to pretend, that's called pantomiming. Gesturing is something that we use as well. And then of course there is, oh gosh, I totally forgot all the other ones. Posture, okay? An example I gave in class is that you can really tell the age or the social status or the emotional you know, mentality of a character just simply based on how they hold their body, okay? Somebody who's very confident will be shoulders back. Somebody who's very timid and very insecure is going to be, you know, shoulders hunched forward. So kind of play with the posture as well, because that can tell a whole story before you even speak the first line. Facials. Facials are very important because if they are like over-exaggerated, they could be a little too much. And also they can tell on you when you make a mistake. So your facial expression should match your character, and if it doesn't, that means that you have broken character or that you've done something that your character wouldn't normally or, you know, necessarily have done in that scene. So make sure your facials are on point. Another one is pacing. So pacing has nothing to do with physical movement. It has everything to do with the timing. So of course, when you're doing a story, stories have three sections, a beginning, a middle, and end. So you have to make sure that you are developing the beginning very clearly so we know who the characters are, where the setting is, and what the potential problem could be, which is that your rising action. Once you get to the climax, that's the main problem in your story. So obviously you reach that problem. It doesn't mean that more problems are created. You have to recognize what that problem is, and then it has to slowly diminish to get to your final ending. And this should be done in a fairly quick amount of time, because it's considering if you are auditioning for something, your time is limited anyway. If we're doing scene work in class, we only have 40 minutes and, you know, a bunch of people to get through. So it shouldn't just lag on. Your pacing should be pretty upbeat, so that way you keep your audience's attention and the story doesn't drag on. Characterization, this is where you get to have fun and play. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with what you say all the time or sticking to the script and speaking words. Characterization is all those other little nuances that you can add in between all that stuff. So the best way to do that is do your research, read the entire play, understand when the time period it was that the play was written, because sometimes that would also help with your character choices as far as movement and dialect and, you know, even costuming as well. So hopefully we'll get into doing these scenes and these monologues where you can really dive deep into the character and make these really cool character choices. And sometimes the first choice that you make is not the right one, but it's good to play around and kind of experiment to find that perfect balance of what to do and what to say. Focus is important because you don't want to get caught up in a distraction. Many things can happen. The fire alarm can go off. Somebody could walk in the classroom. Somebody could sneeze right in the middle of your performance, okay? But you can't break character. You have to remain focused. Block out all distractions. Closing is basically how you finish your scene, okay? Just as your introduction is how you walk in and how you present yourself, how you introduce your name and the name of your piece, the closing is kind of like the bow on the wrapping paper, okay? You don't want to do this amazing intro and this amazing scene and then end it with, oh my God, I just messed up, okay? It's going to completely kill the mood and completely ruin your performance. So your closing should be just as confident as your opener. And then of course, lines and memorization, okay? This is a struggle for a lot of us because sometimes we just don't have the words in our head, but that's not a reason to completely drop character. Make sure you're memorizing your lines as best as you can. Make sure you're sticking to the script as best as you possibly can. But in the event that you need someone to help you out with your lines, just simply have somebody on script. They have the script in front of them. They're able to follow along. You don't break character. You hit that pause button. You say line. As soon as they give you the first few words and you're able to pick up the cue, begin your line from the very start. Don't just pick up right from the middle. Okay, picking up the cue basically means that you pick up where you left off, okay, whether it's the beginning of the thought, beginning of the paragraph, beginning of the sentence, and then you continue as if nothing happened. You just click pause, gather your thoughts, click on pause again, and the show goes on. All right, so that's it for your study guide. The test will consist of short answer questions, multiple choice, as well as true, false, and maybe some, longer responses where you have to write like a paragraph or so. So it will be in a Google form, and for those of you who are in person, if we're not able to get on the computers, they will be on paper. So make sure you bring out something to write with, okay? It's a 40-something minute class, so you should be able to finish in that amount of time. And that's it. I did it in less than 10. About a minute left to spare. Thanks for watching. Be ready for your test tomorrow.